the most important thing a leader does is recognize and celebrate and tell stories around the people who are doing what he or she wants them to do. So if I send out a memo saying, we're all about customer service, and here's our wonderful 4-blocker around customer service, or whatever the memo is that I've sent out on customer service, odds are no one's going to care. In fact, I always used to joke, if you walked into a store at Home Depot, and you can generalize this, if I asked the store manager how things were going, there's only one right answer to that within a corporation, which is, everything's going great, sir. You are wonderful. Please leave. So you have to get past that, and you have to be able to express what it is that you want. The single best thing for me was we had an incredibly intentional and just very every day, every week, pulling out examples of customer service and celebrating. So customer service was a big thing we were driving. So to give an example, this was very structured. Every store would send in examples of great customer service. They would go to a district. The district would send their best to the regional vice presidents. Regional vice presidents would send them to me. And I would literally spend half a day on Sunday writing personal notes, thanking hourly associates and others for great customer service. And they were specific notes. So they told the story. Dear Joe or Jane, I heard you did the following with respect to some customer effort. And that's great. I love you, Frank. Here's $50. And frankly, I learned this from George Bush's dad. That power of personally reaching out and saying, here's your story that is great within what we're trying to do. It's so much easier for everyone to understand in any company memo. And we used to, so I'd send out these notes. We would put books out literally print a book of great customer service. Marvin Ellison, who was running stores for us at the time and who's now running Lowe's, would do this on our weekly broadcasts. Highlight associates who did great things. I have many, many examples, but they were all built around recognizing and celebrating people who are doing what it is you want them to do. And for me, when you think about it, in a company, any company more than 10 people, if you ask the employees, what does your boss want you to do? They actually are pretty fuzzy about it. And, they may know the metrics that they've got to hit, but what does the boss want to see as your activity set is pretty fuzzy. And the best way to make it not fuzzy is to tell a story about it. And recognize and celebrate the person, literally or figuratively. Bring that person up to the stage. You say, you know what great looks like in our company? This is what great looks like. And everybody in the audience is going, first off, I remember the story because, stories are memorable. And second, they go, well, gosh, I do that every day. Frank and the team got to understand that I do that. And you start telling your own story of what makes you who you are. And that's what reinforces, first, the alignment around where you're going. And second, it's the culture that you're actually wanting to build rather than some random culture that's filling in the vacuum. And whenever you leave that vacuum, it tends to get filled in by nuts of good stuff.
Frank, fantastic. So I'm going to open it up nice and broad, and then we'll start to move to landing our plane. So when you think about your tenure at Home Depot, and it can even be beyond this, what were some of the other big leadership lessons that you learned along the way that you think leaders today would be well served to kind of keep in their back pocket?
So I tell new CEOs that they need to get, and this is probably true in lots of different jobs, they need to get two things right to succeed. And if they get these right, they're going to be successful. If they get them wrong, they can get a lot of other things right, and it's not going to. You need to get your capital allocation right. Where are you putting your financial resources? And you need to get your human resources right. Where are you putting the people? Sounds simple, incredibly difficult to do. So on capital allocation, resource allocation, my belief is that most people in most companies want to keep the allocation of resources plus or minus 5%. That's it. They're trying to create the guardrails that keep the leadership within that plus or minus 5%, because life is a whole lot easier if you're just dealing with plus or minus 5%.